looks perhaps more excited about it being Vedi than even we are. You can hear her still just overcome with emotion. Even the poros in the crowd are screaming Vedi, and I'm very excited to be back on the desk with you for SK versus Schalke.
We're casting another SK game. I'm really hoping Crownshot brings out the Twitch once again. I had a chance to chat to him, and he gave me a little bit more insight on how the pick works, how like the levels, the itemization, some of the cool stuff. And we got to hear from the analyst desk some cool stuff about Mana Mune and Muramana as well. So definitely an interesting pick that they do have in their wheelhouse that now many more teams have to respect. And for Schalke, unfortunately, they continue the rest of the season struggling at the beginning of the split, already down a game. They're obviously going to be looking to pick a big win up against SK today. And one of the big things that we've seen pretty much consistently throughout this split is that a lot of our teams are inconsistent, except for Schalke. They've kind of been consistently pretty weak. And hopefully they're able to turn things around because their road to playoffs is, of course, the hardest one. Something that we were talking about earlier, though, is because of how close our standings are, the chances of having a lower scoreline or lower number of wins and qualifying for playoffs is actually quite high this split.
Yeah, because everything is so close together in the middle of the pack, teams can beat other teams. So, for example, say a team that's currently tied for third beats another team that's tied for third, you don't get a larger discrepancy as you would have in the past.
Right.
One team goes to 6 and 5 and the other team goes to 5 and 6, whereas in the past you maybe have a 2 or a 3 game gap between some of those spots, meaning that the gap to get into playoffs is bigger.
Of course, the problem for Schalke is that because they've lost so many games in the first half, things like head-to-head record could really negatively affect them. So games against SK is very important because you would imagine that if they were going to be competing for those playoff spots, these are the type of people that your teams rather that you would be competing against for.
And the lowest amount of wins we've ever seen make it into playoffs is 7. So they still have to win 6 of their remaining 8 games to really even have a shot at going into playoffs. They would be very good on our second half of the split wins record, though, which is one of the ways we use to decide head-to-heads. But let's get on into the action, into the draft. 10-14 has brought us a couple of surprises, the Twitch being one, and immediately Schalke having none of that. No cat, rat, splat, fat today.
Yeah, that's just going to be taken off the board. Clear respect ban coming out from Schalke. You heard the analyst that's talking about targeting Gilius. Well, his Lee Sin is going to be banned away, with the Volibear being banned out as well. Volibear's a pretty interesting discussion point right now, because depending on where you look in the world, he has very different priority. Here in Europe, on this patch, he is first pick or high priority ban. He is being taken off the board. The other interesting shift is Syndra. Medic, some teams we saw still ban it away yesterday, but I don't actually think it was picked once yesterday. And we actually saw it being let through a number of times by a number of teams, even though she wasn't nerfed on patch 10.10.14, but she was nerfed previously. We still saw her so much on 10.13 as well. So that's a pretty big shift. That has kind of shaken up the draft a lot more, because it means that on red side, you actually have a lot more options, because the Varus ban is no longer a thing here in Europe as well.
And that's always been the debate. When you get one of these must-ban red side picks removed from the pool because either they're nerfed or something else happens to them, it opens up so much more opportunity. And I, for one, coming into this weekend, thought that Karthus would just slot into that spot, but we haven't seen any Karthus coming up really either. And even through this pick and ban, there's no Karthus removed. Azir, Volibear, Twitch taken away, Thresh, Twisted Fate, and the Lee Sin. And Orianna immediately locked in for ZaZee.
Well, I think Bwipo gave some really great insight yesterday, saying that Karthus is a pretty complex champion. And even though he was buffed, teams probably didn't have enough time to properly figure out and master the champion in different roles, because he was specifically buffed for lane. So perhaps it's a time thing. Maybe we'll get to see a little bit more Karthus later. But for now, it seems like he's not the priority here in Europe. But Orianna still going to be very high on the priority list alongside Ezreal. Ezreal is considered one of Crownshot's preferred picks, something that he has a lot of comfort on, and the fact that Schalke are taking that away for him is definitely a focus for them.
It is also one of only 2 champions Neon has played twice this split, that alongside the Ashe, so this will be his 3rd time on the Ezreal. And removing it from Crownshot is a bonus. However, Crownshot just falls back to his 2nd in line, the Aphelios. His 4th game on it so far in summer, and he has won 2 out of the 3 that he's played on that pick.
I think the Olaf blind pick is pretty interesting, because it's a dangerous thing to blind. The thing about Olaf is very strong presence in the early game, and usually has a lot of agency in your ability to set up invades, play through lanes, be overall very aggressive. but this also means that SK can draft on a way to mitigate his impacts both in the early game and later on into the game by picking relatively safe laners as well. And I think that Bard can be pretty obnoxious for Olaf once pre-6. Of course, when he does get that 6, he's just going to ignore all that crowd control. But yeah, I think it's a bit of a risky thing to do, but of course it seems that Schalke's still trying to give Gilius champions that he is comfortable on and something that he can have success with. His Graves wasn't that impactful yesterday, so they're going to give him a little bit more agency with the Olaf.
I'm quite interested as well to see not only the Orianna first pick when ZaZee hasn't played Orianna at all this split, but also the fact that Schalke decided to not pick a mid laner in their first rotation, which does give SK Gaming just a lot of options to ban away mids that are good into the Orianna now and try and remove some of those picks from the pool.
Well, I do think that Abbedagge has showcased confidence in his own ability to play a wide range of champions. Yeah. So I think that they're not too concerned about it for now, and they're just saying, you know what, Abba, he can actually pick that on 4 and then get a counter pick for top on 5. So their second half draft, they should actually be like setting themselves up for success.
Okay.
And they can also choose to ban away junglers now if they want to. Now they have prioritized taking away the Ornn, which I think makes sense when you can see the draft that SK have gone for, because currently they don't have any solid frontline. There's nothing to actually start off fights reliably. And the Kha'Zix ban is actually pretty interesting here, because I would have considered something like a Jarvan to actually be pretty strong here for SK. I think that while not that great against Ezreal, can actually do a lot of work to prevent Olaf from getting onto the backline, and also can act as a strong early game tool that can then scale later into strong team fights later on.
Trick did, of course, have a very good Kha'Zix performance yesterday. 78% kill participation, ended 3, and 13, I believe. And so, with the Twitch being banned away, with the Kha'Zix being banned away, maybe Schalke just showing a little bit of respect. And of course, the Syndra has snuck through both sets of both of the ban phases, and immediately here is locked in for Schalke. Abbedagge will take that into the mid lane. SK looking towards the faithful Trundle pick here for jungle.
Okay, so the Trundle, nothing too unconventional. I think can also be a pretty solid duelist into the Olaf as well. The Pillar, I think, can be really obnoxious for a champion like Olaf as well, who doesn't have any of those dashes. And against a Syndra, especially in the mid lane, you can actually set up some very effective ganks. As we see a bit of a return to Kennen here in Europe. We haven't seen Kennen for a while, personally. Never really been a fan of the champion up in top lane. I always think it's a little underwhelming. The only impressive Kennens I often see are over in the LCK.
Yeah, do you think that's part of it? Because I still remember G2 getting shredded by a slicing maelstrom, and I feel like I have a little bit of, you know, flashbacks that are slightly traumatic when I get towards that. So maybe that's why I don't like it as much, but we'll see how much impact Jenax can have on it. A traditional strong pick into the Kennen, though, is the Jayce. Gives you some good range advantage. You can trade pretty well onto the Kennen as well.
Well, I think, yeah, her Jayce is a really good matchup into the Kennen. We've seen it a bunch over in the LCK specifically, but Jayce has been popping up around the world as well. And I think that Schalke have actually got themselves a really solid draft here. I think that the Syndra-Olaf duo is a very effective mid-jungle combo that you can actually easily play through mid and like put a lot of punishment onto the Orianna. Syndra's a very good matchup into the Orianna as well. You have a winning matchup top with the Jayce, which Odoamne, he used to be famous for it. Back in 2016 when they went to World Semifinals on H2K, this was one of his champions that you had to ban away from him, otherwise he would just run away with the game. And then you have a very safe bot lane with an engage coming from the support, so they have some poke in the combination of Jayce plus Ezreal. Their team fighting is arguably weaker than SK's because of course you have a huge amount of wombo combo, but no solid front line from SK, so things like Baron are going to be a lot harder. We'll talk more about draft as we get into game, but this is of course our first game of Day 2, Week 5, SK versus Schalke.
And once again, we meander our way into the river as the lines of scrimmage have been set up. Neither team going for an early level 1 here, Vedius. But I do want to come back to sort of the discussion on SK's composition, because you talked a lot about how Schalke have, you know, strong 2v2 mid jungle, strong top lane, safe bot lane. SK have slightly more in the team fight, but how can they mitigate some of the early pressure that Schalke could put on?
Well, I think it's really difficult because I think that outside of bot lane, and even I think bot lane's a little debatable too. I think that Schalke kind of have winning lanes across the board and a very strong early game jungler that, depending on what time they show up and in what position, can be very devastating. So I'm really interested in what the early jungle pathing looks like, because for SK, like, they're definitely going to be looking at these team fights, and I think Drakes are really important for them. So being able to gain priority around bot, maybe looking to contest that first Drake is something that SK could think about, but it's always very dangerous. I really like this delayed invade coming out from Schalke, trying to utilize the strength of the Olaf to put Trick behind, and whether Trick is here or not, they're going to force Trick into losing some of those early camps, and he's going to be forced into moving up towards the top side of his map, where Jayce will also have priority. So this gives Neon and Dreams, while they will be a little bit late to lane, Crownshot and Limit don't have a jungler now in the bot side of the map. All those camps are going to be taken away. They have to play a lot more defensively, because if they over-push this lane, there's the risk of a gank with the Nautilus plus Olaf. You're going to have priority in the mid with the Syndra, and while Odoamne will have to be a little bit cautious, in the same time, he's also in a position where he's going to be very commanding and controlling in that 1v1 on the top side.
And you can see Gilius, instead of just splitting the jungle and going across towards his blue buff, he's gone immediately towards his own red, so he can make sure he secures both of these buffs.
Yeah, so his priority instead is to just go for that 3-buff start, get as much jungle XP as possible, and this means that he can then start actually pathing back towards bot. This, of course, does give a little bit more safety to Crownshot and Limit, because they did get that information on where Gilius was, but you can see in these early trades, Dreams and Neon were actually coming out ahead. In the 2 versus 2, Limit doesn't quite have that sustain yet from the Bard, so they're going to be struggling just a little bit for now. And yeah, Schalke, I feel like they're utilizing their early game power well, and this is what you want to be doing with this composition, especially when you have so much priority pretty much in every lane and all across the map. Now we need to see them try and use this to look for kills, get an early goal lead, and kind of snowball off of that.
You can see Trick here trying to do something around the bottom lane. He has been known for his level 3 ganks down towards this, trying to get Crownshot ahead. It's how SK tend to win games. Neon's going to jump away. Dreams didn't land the hook, but is able just to flash away. Heal was used from Neon as well.
So the wave was bouncing back towards Neon and Dreams, so they should have actually been pretty safe there if Dreams was able to land the hook, but because he didn't, he ends up losing his flash, but Limit was the same. So at the end of the day, it was a pretty even trade. Of course, the heal did get lost as well. Okay, this will pick up.
So this is, I think this is really interesting, because Gilius not only is going to get 3 buffs, he's going to get double scuttles here, and he also, I believe, counter-jungled the Razorbeaks, which means there's only 1 Razorbeak left alive. So Trick is going to be starved of experience, Vedius.
Yeah, so the pathing that Gilius has taken is basically just to put Trick behind as much as possible. You can already see it in the farm discrepancy developing between the 2 junglers, and this is going to give Gilius a lot of gold as well in the early game, and the wave in the bot lane is set up very nicely too, that Neon and Dreams have to be careful of a potential dive, but you can see Dreams positioning in a way like, okay, I see where Trick is, I know what's happening, we should be good, and we should see Neon doing what he can to try and thin out this wave, and you can see that he's trying to keep it away from the tower. Limit, ooh.
Oh, nice little start. The Graviton comes down as well. Neon doesn't have heal, remember, he used it earlier on, and the Guardian Shield will keep Limit very healthy under the tower.
Yeah, so that was a bit weird, admittedly. I wasn't expecting Limit to just actually make that play work out, but they got a huge trade onto Neon. That's going to force him back, because if he stays, they do get dived and they lose a lot, and now Dreams is in trouble. Yeah,
Limit's tanking up the tower there. I think Dreams should be okay. Just able to walk out underneath this tower, but this is CS being lost and possibly a plate for SK.
Yeah, this play ends up much worse for Schalke than it should have, all because Limit was able to land that binding onto Neon. This forces him back when he should have been able to catch this wave. He was healthy enough to not get dived. They were relatively safe. Dreams hook just missing there. Not what we usually see from a Nautilus hook. Usually when that thing goes out, it hits everyone from a 1-mile radius.
As a Nautilus abuser in solo queue, I'm not going to agree with you, but yes, you're right.
But this will, of course, mean that SK now going to look to reset. They should be on pretty good back timings as well. And in this window, Gilius is going to use this as an opportunity to get an early man trade. So Gilius is getting a lot from his early pathing this time around. He's really putting Trick behind. He's benefiting the team a lot. And if it weren't for that small blunder in the 2 versus 2, like, look at Neon's back compared to Crownshot's back, right? Like, that small blunder actually had a huge impact in how this 2v2 is going to play out, because now it's BF sword versus not even the tier. So he's not even stacking that yet, meaning Neon is going to have to look for another opportunity to base. And now his wave's in a bit of an awkward spot, so Gilius is going to have to hover around, because Neon needs to push this wave out.
He's going to try and catch it, but all this does is delay the power of the Ezreal as the game goes on. You want that tier stacking up as soon as possible, obviously, to get towards your Manamune completion. And you can see how safe Neon's having to be. Crownshot actually even deliberately body blocking minions here. Because you know you've got the Caretaker's Shrine, you know you've got the sustain from the Bard, and you'll have Severum up pretty soon anyway. You're Aphelios, so you're going to get some lifesteal in the lane. Dreams spend a little bit of time here trying to get some ward control for his mid laner. But let's have a look at where we are in the other lanes. It's about a 7 to 8 CS lead for Odoamne in the top lane. We did see him build up a large lead yesterday and wasn't quite able to translate that. I like the Hex Drinker itemization here from him first, just knowing that Jenax is going AP, and also you have an Orianna, so that top side of the map is very magic damage heavy.
It's very true. And I think that, as you rightly said, it's very good for the matchup, and Odoamne so far doing a great job of keeping the pressure up. I'm still looking for where Gilius could look for an opportunity. Yeah. I think that potentially going for a dive top before he's hit 6 was an option. Bringing the Syndra up and using the priority you had in mid to look for a play there. Looking for a kill in mid is also another option because you have no cleanse on ZaZee. There's a real easy setup with Syndra plus Olaf.
Yep.
And so now I just kind of want to see Schalke, you know, make a couple plays.
Up the tempo.
I feel like that they've got a lot of tools, Medic, and they can kind of go wherever they want, really. It's just about having those waves set up in a way where you can utilize your jungler and maybe a bit of a roam from someone else in a different lane. But so far, they're not really doing any of that, which is giving SK the freedom to farm up when they're quite comfortable in this position right now. Yeah. They don't have to force anything. They know that they have strong team fighting later on, and as long as they're not conceding too many Drakes, they're probably going to be feeling pretty comfortable.
SK traditionally have been a team fighting team in our league. That's been their playstyle. They've worked around getting Crownshot early leads, getting him ahead, and then being front to back in team fights. Yesterday, we saw something slightly different from them, but it seems like they have reverted to the norm here with a strong-ish front line in the form of the Kennen going in, getting the engage off, the Trundle on the front line, and then the Aphelios and the Orianna to do the DPS.
I would say that SK's engage is not the most reliable. Yeah. In a choke point around Drake, I think you can use things like the Trundle Pillar to be really obnoxious, and
Bard ult can help.
What is the next Drake? If observers could just quickly pan to the right.
It's an you can.
Oh yeah,
it's an Inferno. Vedius.
I forgot that was in the top.
Give him a circle. Give him a circle. Show them all where that Inferno. Here we are.
You can also find that information out up here. Yep. Thank you, Circle, for sharing that information with us. We even picked it. Thank you. Thank you, observers. Thank you.
That's for people whose top of their screen is cut off.
The point that I was trying to get to was that I think a Cloud Soul could be really valuable for a team like SK, where you do kind of have to run at your opponents, and things when you're looking at Kennen flanks, Trundle Pillar, to be able to get in range, having that additional movement speed can be extremely valuable. So that's one potential soul they could take advantage of, but we're yet to see which one that will be.
Well, it's not going to be the Mountain or the Inferno. So either we're going to have an Ocean, it's going to be the strongest soul in the game, or it's going to be that Cloud that could help out SK quite a lot at the moment. Schalke are looking to fight around this Rift Herald. Gilius is going in, flashes forward. They're trying to kill Crownshot before anything really happens. Trick has been isolated on the Herald, but here comes the Moonlight Vigil. True Barrage going to hit across towards the side. It hits 3, and even with the Slicing Maelstrom, I'm not sure Jenax is going to be able to do enough. ZaZee down towards the bottom side of this fight is doing quite a lot of work, though. He's zoning Schalke. Gilius stepping forward, doesn't have the smite. I'm not sure who got the Rift Herald, but there is Jenax going down. Neon's going to take him, and the Rift Herald was picked up by Gilius.
Yeah, it was actually Neon that last hit that Herald. The fact that that was a pretty messy fight from both sides, it felt like the SK was obviously there first, and they were earlier on the rotation, and because Schalke didn't look like they were in a position to contest, SK felt pretty safe. So, as we see initially, SK have their members, but they can't have the Orianna rotate first, which then gives Abbedagge priority, and then a good ultimate from Neon actually does a huge amount of damage onto the backline, and this Bard ultimate actually mitigates a lot of that damage down onto Dreams, but also doesn't allow SK to finish off this Herald. And it's at this point where SK really need to disengage because they have too many low health members. Neon just steals it away there, and this is when Schalke can then go on the re-engage because SK have just stuck around a little bit too long.
You can kind of see, like, if SK's initial engage doesn't work, they don't have a huge amount of tools to peel themselves after it. Like, Schalke are very good at just chasing you down. You've got the Ezreal, you've got the Nautilus there as well for constant hooks and constant pressure. And damage in that last fight, pretty well spread across the board. Interesting that Jenax didn't do a huge amount, because it did look like his Slicing Mushroom was in a good position. But
it was the Bard ultimate
the Tempered Fate really stopped a lot of it. So a bit of anti-synergy coming out there.
So we got a kill with 61 damage. It's like last hitting. All me, baby.
Been taking off the Ender.
Yeah. So next Drake is going to be up for Schalke to secure with Gilius on the bot side of the map. Neon and Dreams have to be careful of the potential gank. Trick is looking for something, but there's a control ward over the wall to keep them safe. SK is like, okay, well now we know for sure where the enemy jungler is, so we're going to get some deep vision, control the top side jungle, and then this again forces Neon and Dreams to play a little bit more defensively.
Yeah, it definitely does, and I'm really interested to see how SK start to take the game from here, because historically, they do not win if they're behind at the 15-minute mark. Now, I know they're about 300 gold ahead, but usually in their wins, they're about 2,000 gold ahead at the 15-minute mark, and a lot of that is funneled onto Crownshot. Here, the game seems to be a lot more even. They do have a strong team fighting composition, but across the course of watching their games, I haven't seen them find a win when they've been close in the mid-game. I
mean, I think the advantage for them in this situation, though, is that Schalke were pretty reliant on getting early leads. I think that when you have a Jayce, you want him to be in a position where he can threaten side lanes.
Definitely true.
And right now, he's actually pretty even with Jenax, largely because of that last fight. He ended up dying, whereas Jenax gets a kill. Speaking of getting a kill, right now, SK is looking for Neon, but he should be pretty safe in this position.
Yeah, he's got everything he needs to get out of that one. It's pretty easy for him just to dodge away.
And yeah, I think that the fact that Schalke haven't really been able to utilize a lot of this early game power to build up a solid gold advantage is a little worrying. Now, admittedly, they do have good control over the objectives right now, as we can see with a little bit of help from our circle friend over here. That rather. It will be the Ocean Soul.
A Venn diagram of water there. Yeah. Top is steam, the bottom is ice, and in the middle,
it's water. Watery goodness. Stay hydrated, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you
hydration check.
Yeah, make sure you have a nice swig of water. But it will be the Ocean Soul, and that's going to be extremely valuable on a comp like Schalke. We already saw, do you remember Shadow and his Olaf when he got that Ocean Soul? Whew, that was scary. Now Abbedagge is looking for Trick, takes half his health.
Early unleash power, but the subjugate comes down, and Trick will heal up quite a bit, but Gilius is going to be able to just secure this red buff, and Schalke looking in a pretty okay position, especially considering their scoreline, the place they are in the standings. This is a much stronger performance from them than we have seen in the past. And we talked about it a little bit at the start of the game, Vedius. It would be a miracle run for Schalke to make it back into playoffs, but because all of the rest of the teams are so close, wins against teams like SK, XL, Vitality, Misfits, Origin could really rocket them up the standings.
Yeah, they're super important games, I think, as well, because, as we mentioned, in a position that you're in as Schalke, you're likely looking to contest maybe that 6th, maybe 5th place playoff spot.
Yep.
And you would imagine that teams like SK are the teams that you're competing against. Now, of course, we still have a lot left of the split, and things go either way. This is just kind of like on paper predictions, because I think a lot of analysts and a lot of people in general are giving benefit of the doubt to the former top 3 expectedly, assuming that they will ramp up as the rest of the split goes on. But that's exactly why you want to try and secure these wins as Schalke, because of how important they could be when it comes to those things like head-to-head records.
But it's also the reason that a win here would be so important for SK. I looked at their upcoming schedule, and their next 6 games, they have XL, Mad Lions, Misfits, Rogue, Origin. Then they still have Fnatic and G2 to play by the end of the split. Like, they are not in for an easy road to the end of the split. So getting wins here, getting towards that 7, 8, 9 win mark that historically has got you into playoffs is so important for this team.
Yeah, I think SK want to make sure that they're beating the people around them first. And obviously a lot of their competition right now is the people around them. And Vitality, that win yesterday was extremely important for them.
Definitely.
And I think, again, today's win is also going to be very valuable for them in terms of their movement towards the standing. So a lot of stakes in this game, only in week 5. Ultimate will come out from Limit and will not land. Dreams then counterattacks.
So the thing is here, you have Magical Journey as Limit, and that's what he's expected to do. Abbedagge wasn't able to get Enrage even with the flash to land the stun. Dreams goes through the Magical Journey. Wow.
I do not think that was his plan, Medic. It definitely did not pan out in his favor. ZaZee now a good sidestep of the stun. He has his eyes on Gilius.
Ragnarok's just going to be able to get him away from that, but that is an ultimate for an ultimate burnt. And yeah, Dreams, that was more like a nightmare for him as he took a trip to Wonderland. Good stun from Abbedagge here. Does have the Unleash power. Will unleash it on ZaZee, who pops the stopwatch.
He's got a flash.
And he will flash away.
Yeah, that was really well played from Abbedagge, because he lands the initial Q with the stun, then he keeps the ball in with the W, then brings out another Q, because the more balls you have, the more damage you do. So with 5 balls, he was like, should be more than enough damage to be able to kill ZaZee there, and that forces the stopwatch out for him and forces him to go back as well. So good overall play from Abbedagge, but does not result in a kill. And right now, SK has the gold advantage at 15 minutes. So again, they're chilling. You know, they're feeling very comfortable right now. They've got their feet up. They're enjoying the sun. They just got themselves another kill. It was unfortunate that Crownshot didn't get the kill, of course, because if Aphelios did get it, he'd be feeling much happier. But you also got to see the damage that the Aphelios does have, which many people are big fans of right now. I know nerfs are on their way.
Many Aphelios players, I think, are big fans of the amount of damage he can do. I do want to mention We've seen now the next dragon spawning. There's 2 already for Schalke, and you can see SK not willing to give up this 3rd dragon without a fight.
Yeah, and I think that they've got solid items where they can look for a fight. The Infinity Edge is done for Crownshot. He still doesn't have his ultimate just yet, but SK committing to it. What wards can Jenax TP to? He's got a couple options to the left.
It's already gone.
There's a flank right behind them, and here it comes.
Shockwave as well. Neon cord out. The Tempered Fate doesn't land. Only hits Abbedagge, and here comes Jenax with the Slicing Maelstrom. Flashing forward. Dream's going to hook himself away, but is stunned up once again. There's 2 kills and a dragon to SK.
And you can see how when SK get that 5v5, they're starting to swing the game back in their favor. The ward was in a position to set up SK for the flank, and they were able to get a good collapse onto Schalke. This is what we talked about, Medic, how you can, in situations like this, it doesn't matter if you have strong engage, because in those choke points, things like the Trundle pillar, things like the Orianna ball can be very obnoxious to get around. And so this forced Schalke into an uncomfortable situation when they ended up losing 2 members and a Drake.
And SK will take the Rift Herald off the back of it as well. It feels like we've moved past the point where Schalke had the option to be really proactive. The time when they could go for these 2v2s, but Odoamne is saying he's having none of that. He's sick of me calling them passive as he just picks up a solo kill in the bottom lane.
Yeah, so good punish there. We'll get to that in a little bit, but we really want to draw your attention to this ward right here on the right-hand side. This TP flank combined with this pillar here really cut off so much of Schalke as they tried to contest this objective, and SK had the better positioning. It made it very easy for Jenax to just mow down the Schalke members, allowing SK to come out on top in this fight.
And the ward died just afterwards.
Yeah, it was good timing.
That was very good timing. Very good.
And also, Odoamne solo kill. So we should probably talk about that.
Yeah, that happened.
So I think ZaZee basically just overstayed bot lane. He didn't have his flash, of course. And in a 1v1, no one can really duel the Jayce. That's part of the reason why it was important to get him ahead early, because he's only going to get harder to deal with as the game progresses. But you cut to see there, especially when you don't even have your ultimate available, it's very easy to get those kills and get that pick.
ZaZee is... Okay, that was really good from ZaZee, because he was walking up towards this like, can I contest, can I contest? And then Schalke had set up in this bush to try and do something about it. But Limit there, popping the Rift Herald in the top lane. I don't know if that was an accident as he had the oracles up, or whether he's just trying to put some pressure up here right now. I also didn't see if it was just timing out.
Because it actually doesn't make any sense top lane at all.
So it may have been timing out, but I feel they got it quite recently as well. Anyway.
I don't know. But I would have preferred to have seen it mid lane regardless, Medic. Because you can see them setting up for it right now. This would have been in a perfect Herald position. Like, the other thing about it is you are creating a point of pressure top, which does keep the Syndra there when she doesn't have teleport. So maybe it's 5-head.
Oh, Temper Fate just hits the edge of Odoamne, and now he's caught between Trick and the rest of SK. A great shockwave into the Infernum. Oof, indeed, Vedius. That's an amount of damage that you don't usually get to see this early on in a game. 2 quick kills for SK. They're 6-2 up. They've got a 1,500 gold lead. And although they didn't get the mid lane tower, they did get quite a lot of gold out of that play.
That was a wombo combo, Medic. I always forget that Aphelios can also do a wombo combo. And we'll kind of get to see this, like, mesh of abilities in this salad bowl right here. Again, we're in a narrow choke point, and notice how the Kennen ultimate comes through, the shockwave, the Aphelios flamethrower explodey thingy also comes through. It's just damage for days, and Gilius is just like, yeah, I'm gonna nope right out of that one to allow SK to get themselves more kills. They didn't secure the mid tower. But you can see the wombo combo, you kind of tell where the damage is coming from.
I mean, Aphelios did as much damage as Neon plus Gilius plus Odoamne, I think. So, that's a
so the upsetting thing for me is that an AD carry did, like, more burst damage than a Kennen and an Orianna, whose, like, whole thing is, like, you know, doing burst damage.
I get where you're coming from, Vedius. But he did press R in a line. Okay?
Anyway, moving forward swiftly. Ocean Drake, this almighty circle, as you can see, with this beautiful. I cannot.
Can you place it in the right place?
Right, there's the. There's the soul.
Perfectly encapsulated.
Right, and there's the timer. Right. Wow. Okay, this is harder than it looks. Mate. Chat, please stop judging me right now. Just bless the circle here. I'll leave him up there for you.
Bless up.
Oh, looks like we're getting another fight.
Yep. Temper Fate does hit onto Dreams. The tower is still there, and Dreams will be able to survive. You bring that circle back, good man. We'll wait for an opportune moment to surprise them once again with it. But here we are, yes. So as you say, 20 seconds on the ocean. Schalke would be getting their third dragon of the game if they can go for it, but I really feel they're just a little bit too far behind in itemization. You can see Liandry's almost complete for ZaZee. You've got the Infinity Edge and the Runelands on Crownshot as well, and you have to keep your eyes on Crownshot. Whenever SK fight, Crownshot is the one bringing the full force of this Aphelios to the table. Schalke going to try and get mid-prio. The dragon has been started. Now Schalke, I wonder if you just go for the tower instead here. Can you really contest for this dragon? Jenax looking for a flank position. He has been warded off, hasn't been spotted yet, and the dragon already goes down. Schalke get back towards the mid lane here. Jenax comes across the ward with the lightning surge. And Schalke will just take mid tier 1.
So, pretty straightforward turn of events. I think SK were more than happy to just concede the mid tier 1. They knew that the second ocean was way more valuable, and they can trade for another tier 1 in the bot lane as well. Jenax is going to catch that wave in mid, and Schalke, I liked their wards that they had just on the just outside the entrance to the river near the red buff, because that then stopped a potential Jenax flank. Yep. Notice that he does have Ghost and Flash available, and that would have been devastating if he came in from that angle. So good ward, we'll spot that out, mitigate that, so no fight happens. But again, Schalke still kind of coming out ahead here as they push in mid-wave. They're looking to secure themselves the final tier 1 tower and really break open the map for SK.
Now we have just seen that Liandry's complete for ZaZee. Jenax has his second item as well. It's Morello's before he even finishes his Zhonya. So they're playing both sides of the LS argument. They've got both the Liandrys and the Morellos, just in case anyone on Twitter wants to flame them. But Schalke, it feels like they've missed their window here, Vedius. We talked about their strong 2v2 mid-jungle. Never really saw that come to effect. We talked about how Odoamne can dominate in a side lane. He is very strong, but SK are never really playing him in a side lane. They're just letting him push, and then they push the wave back.
Yeah, it feels to me that Schalke were never in a strong enough point where they could take control over the third Drake, and because of that, they were not really able to like dictate the pace of the game or really, you know, utilize their strength in a side lane or kind of snowball this game. So now they're in this position where they're being forced into 5v5s around Baron and Drake, and that's the situation where SK won, because they're utilizing the Trundle Pitter very well. Olaf is having a really difficult time actually closing the gap unless he wants to use his ultimate very early. And this is also setting up for Jenax to find these very good flanks. And notice that Schalke is trying to get some control wards sitting behind them. You'll see them sitting at about like here, and they had another one around to the left side as well. But it's basically just to mitigate some of these potential deep wards that could come in from behind. And so it's this constant battle for vision between both sides so that SK can actually get that flanking TP.
But because Schalke are placing those defensive control wards, it means they can't place ones, say, in the red side jungle of SK, which means Odoamne can't be safe split pushing in the bottom lane because he doesn't have that protection to try and push up the wave.
I mean, the problem is right now that Schalke don't really own anything. Medic, you know, like they were able to get the tier 1 in the mid lane, but they're so afraid of pushing past anything because SK is now at a point where they can just like, oh, you want to fight? Okay.
Yeah, tempered fate, you're all called out, you're dead, right?
Yeah. So Odoamne will continue to try and catch waves in the side lane, threaten, but I think that this is only building up for SK to just look for that 5v5 and then sort of end the game. So difficult situation for Schalke to be in. They need to find a good pick. Maybe they can find one in a side lane. You can see that Limit and Trick right now grouping up, getting a little bit of deep vision around this Drake side of the map. Still 2 minutes away, so very early, but just maintaining control around the Scuttle Crown.
You can see that's also why Odo has to play so safe. The rest of his team is on the other side of the map. They're trying to gain control around that blue, around that Baron area, which is up right now, but 25 minutes in. SK only with 1,000 gold lead. I will state, you know, it's quite close still in terms of just pure gold, but SK's composition seems so much more powerful right now as Limit gets caught out. Trick going in as well. As he pushes forward, the depth charge hits onto Limit. Jenax has a good flank position and Dreams is very low already. The Moonlight Vigil into the chomp is enough to take the kill. Limit's going to chase Abbedagge, but he's all by himself here. Unleashed Power doesn't quite do enough. The Tempered Fate is sidestepped by Abbedagge. He's taken some dancing lessons in the meantime. The Slicing Maelstrom will still land a stun. Gilius coming in, and SK will be forced out, but Crownshot's having none of it. Flashes forward, takes the kill, and the Shockwave pulls Odoamne back as the hammer was about to strike. Crownshot, Odoamne was ripped away, and now SK are running back. Neon will have a lot of damage, only has about 1/3 of his mana bar left though. Mana so important, of course, on the Ezreal. He's jumped forward, flashes away, the exhaust goes down as Jenax tries to chase him with the flash. Limit back up to about half HP, goes in with a magical journey, and there goes Neon. Odoamne is going to be the next on the menu as SK try and chase him out of his own jungle. He should be able to escape, but that's a great fight for SK.
Yeah, very prolonged fight, and the fact that Crownshot flashed in there, I thought he was going to lose his life, and that could have been devastating for SK, but a clutch shockwave comes out from ZaZee, and we may even see more action here as Dreams is going to face check.
Oh, poor Dreams. Odoamne is fighting off towards the top side. He tries to take down Jenax, but can't get there in time. Now here comes the TP. Abbedagge, is this really where you want to be? ZaZee doesn't have any mana. I will note that, and as the Dark Spheres hit, ZaZee with the blue buff just ticking back up. Abbedagge
She has so much mana. The damn blue buff at it again.
Teleport coming in, the shockwave. ZaZee flashes forward. ZaZee gets knocked away. Abbedagge will fall. And SK quite rapidly develop themselves a 2,500 gold lead, and that was very melodic. That wasn't what it was meant to be.
A 2,500 gold lead. And it's SK gonna get Drake. Anyway, yes, that was a series of unfortunate events for Schalke. They came so close so many times to finding a one-team fight against SK, but they could not hammer in the final nail in the coffin on a single member. Yep. So many just walked away on such slivers of health. And we go back to where it all began. Limit, he kind of makes a bit of a mistake here just face-checking this brush, but he also knows that he has the exhaust. He instantly throws it onto Abbedagge so he doesn't get destroyed. He has the Guardian as well, and Jenax didn't actually have any visibilities to commit to this fight, which is why he doesn't, but that doesn't matter because Trick and Crownshot had the damage to secure that kill. Then we see Limit. Like, Limit was really testing his own limits in a lot of this fight as he kind of just face-checks, and here we see again, Crownshot flashing into the face of Gilius. He closed the gap for him, and here we see the clutch shockwave. Look at it come out. Oh. Crownshot actually takes the damage. I wonder if that lifesteal at the very end there actually could have kept him alive as well. But in any case, Crownshot does get away on a sliver of health. We then see this continuing fight where it's just a lot of poking back and forth. But SK, I love the fact that they're saying, hey, we can commit to this fight. If that Q had landed from Jenax, that actually would have stunned up Neon, which allowed them to get the kill. But he ends up landing that stun regardless. And then it's just kind of this constant back and forth of picks where, you know, Schalke don't get any picks, whereas SK continue to find kill after kill.
SK got their third dragon as well. They have got 3 oceans now. They have a very big Aphelios. Death's Dance, Infinity Edge, and the Runans. You can see the wide Peepo happies in chat already. Crowny is on a tear. Also, Jenax having a very good performance on this Kennen.
Well, I think Limit, honestly. I mean, yeah, Jenax had a fantastic performance yesterday, and I think in the second half of the split, so far he's already had 2 very good games. Yep. But I've also been very impressed with Limit over the last 2 days. I think that when we look at supports, a lot of the conversation has been around Labrov. But I do think that Limit has actually had a very solid split and has been setting his team up for success. His Trick.
The subjugate healing. Oh, he was so close to dead, but here come the rest of the SK Wrecking Crew. Shockwave hits on Abbedagge. He dies to the Leandri's proc, I believe. Limit takes the kill on his fellow support Dreams. And now Gilius, flashless, ultless, perhaps hopeless as he looks to try and steal away this Baron that has been started by SK. 4,000 gold in the lead. Gilius going to step forward. Limit is standing on a wood, and here comes Jenax with the flank position. Odoamne is going to trade onto Jenax here. He pops the slicing Maelstrom, but the Edge of Night will keep Odoamne alive for the moment. That Baron is almost done. SK just trying to act as distraction, and somehow, in the last couple of minutes, Vedius, SK have got like 11 kills and no one's died. Like, these fights have been absolutely absurd.
Yep.
And SK continue to survive.
I mean, I think a large part of it is just the comps. It's very difficult for Schalke to really commit against the comp of SK when they have so many kiting tools. They have so many ways to just disrupt your ability to actually close that gap. And also, SK just have a lot of damage. Yes, so every time you get really close to killing them, they just out-DPS you at the very end and turn it in their favor. So SK now with the Baron buff should be set up for success to end this game. Bear in mind that no tier 3 towers have gone down yet, which is actually quite uncharacteristic for this point in the game. Normally the map will be a lot more open, but we've seen so many crazy fights happen that haven't really led to many objective gains that the game has been dragged out a little bit longer. But that has, of course, just resulted in SK getting stronger and stronger, and now I think it's very difficult for Schalke to win in any kind of fight.
Yeah, you set up the expectation all the way back in Pick and Ban that SK had the stronger team fighting composition, and now the game is all about team fights. It's all about grouping up for perhaps that next dragon that we could highlight on the screen here, Vedius. It's up in 1 minute 30 seconds. If only someone very kindly would show us exactly how you can tell that information. Thank you, Mr. Circle.
Bless the Circle.
Yep.
Oh, big Circle came down onto Abbedagge, but he sidesteps that one.
It's okay for the moment as SK break the first tier 2 of the game. They're looking for more. This Baron still has a minute and a half left on it. And they are grouped up. ZaZee as on the back of this as they look for the kill already. Trick has been caught off. Yeah, I was wondering where Jenax was. He's in the mid lane. They were trying to sync up their waves, but the engage potential from Dreams just too strong there.
I think that Trick honestly just over his stats. He got a little too close, ends up getting punished for it. This may actually drag the game out a little bit longer, because while SK do get one tower, they're just going to have to reset because they've lost Trick. And their comp without him means that it has 0 frontline.
ZaZee is teleporting towards the dragon, so I was wondering if SK would give up dragon control, having lost Trick, but you can see they're very deliberate in trying to get back in here and trying to get their wards down.
Yeah, also, Schalke don't own their jungle anymore,
yeah.
Medic. So, unfortunately, even if they wanted to try and contest the Drake, they have to walk through an area of the map that they have very little information on. You can see Dreams trying to reclaim some of that information, but as our observers are highlighting, it's a very dark map right now for Schalke.
They've kind of been renting areas of it with Dream's life. You know, he face checks, he dies, they then get control of the area for a little while.
But unfortunately, the night is full of terrors, and SK right now is looking to feed on the dreams of Schalke.
That's very well done.
Thank you.
Dream's going to get a ward in here. The dragon has been started, and I think it is already done. Ocean Soul with Quad Ocean for SK, the most hydrated you can ever be.
Yes, correct. And I'm just hoping now that Trick doesn't, you know, run it down a little bit.
I mean, I think even now if he does, as long as he pops Subjugate, he's going to heal so much. It's going to be pretty impossible to kill SK. You can see Jenax is meeting up with Odoamne in the top lane. The rest of SK are on their way across there. The Baron buff has fallen off, but they should be at least able to break all of these tier 2s. Odoamne retreats, backs himself away. And right now, SK just have total control of the game. Tempered Fate's going to hit Gilius. He decides against the Ragnarok, waiting to see perhaps if he needs to use it afterwards. He pops it, uses his flash as well, and SK will be very happy just to get that summoner away from the Olaf. Oh, he didn't use flash. Okay, sorry, he just used the Ragnarok.
I think Dreams used Hex flash, or his actual flash.
So many particle effects on the screen there.
Yeah. So yeah, it looks like we're going to be waiting for the next Baron. I mean, I get it, because when you kind of funnel all down into one lane, Schalke have enough tools to be able to hold that wave, and so SK can't quite break into the base. I will say, not been the cleanest game of League. It's been a bit chaotic, which has been fun to watch, but I was kind of hoping for a little bit more from Schalke. I think they had a lot of tools to be very proactive in the early game, and they had a lot of winning lanes, but they weren't able to utilize any of it. And I think that playing split push comps in this kind of meta is also just very difficult to do, especially if you can't get those early leads because of how important the Drake is right now. So with the comp that they drafted, SK was just in a better position and they didn't get punished for it. And now Odoamne, his back is going to be interrupted, which is just really obnoxious.
That's one of those just annoying ones that doesn't actually really mean anything. Like, you're not going to be pushing in here and getting control anytime soon anyway, so all it's going to do is stop him from getting back. He actually decides against going back to the fountain. He's like, it wasn't worth it. I can't waste the extra 8 seconds to port back once again. But although it hasn't been the cleanest, SK after having a 3-game loss streak coming into this week will be pretty happy with the fact they're looking at a 2-0 once again.
And it's definitely needed when they want to be in that conversation for playoffs as well, considering how close the entire standings of the LEC are. Now it should just be a matter of time for SK. They have everything that they need to close this game out. Schalke, they will need some sort of miracle Baron steal if they want to try, or maybe an Elder steal if they want to try and turn this game back in their favor, but at this point, it seems very difficult to do such a thing.
An Elder Steal would put them in a really good spot, because the amount of poke they have is actually really easy to proc Elder Dragon, because you can just Jayce Shock Blast, you can Mystic Shot, you can poke with Dark Spheres, and just, you have to get someone down below that 25% HP tick. We are seeing, you know, items starting to be completed on Neon. He's got his last Whisper up, he's got the Iceborne, Death's Dance, Manamune, but he just doesn't quite match up with an Aphelios who's sitting at a completed Phantom Dancer alongside Infinity Edge Runelands and Death's Dance, and composition isn't built for these full-on team fights. So Odoamne is going to try and deal with Jenax in the side lane once again, but you can see Limit is on a flanking position here. Pretty tanky on this Bard. Look, maybe just looking for the binding. Neon flashes away there. Jenax traded here by Odoamne. Jenax almost dead. He has to flash away himself. Meanwhile, here comes Limit in with the magical journey. This fight down towards the bottom side of this as the True Shot Rush comes out. Trick on the front line, healing up. Look at that subjugate. Look at that. He's ticking up right before your very eyes. It's like he's got a Warmogs on the entire time. And Schalke able to disengage the fight. Did get the flash out of Jenax, which is big considering, you know, Jenax on the Kennen is part of the engage here, and they're able to force SK back.
SK made a bunch of mistakes here because the first thing is that Jenax gets caught in a 1v1 against Odoamne, so he's forced to use his flash, and he almost loses his life. Then Crownshot gets engaged on, he loses both his summoners as well. So yes, they do have the Ocean Soul, but SK is kind of getting caught with their pants down right now as Schalke's finding a lot of pretty solid picks and just making SK's life more difficult. So now they're in a position to do the Baron. Again, the problem, but with the Ocean Soul, it should be fine. I was going to say that they don't really have anyone that can tank things up outside of the Trundle, but they have the Ocean Soul, so it shouldn't really be a problem.
So there was an interesting passage of play there, and ZaZee recalled, then teleported to tier 2 mid, and then Jenax from mid TP'd up to the top lane. Was that just for like, oh, okay, well, Gilius has to flash away here. Odoamne can chase. Yeah, he has got stopwatch. Jenax does have stopwatch. Actually, looks like Crownshot might be starting up the Baron himself. There's the redemption. Jenax almost dead before it even comes down. He's going to pop the stopwatch, but now you can see that Baron has been started up by SK. Schalke get the shutdown. Gilius is back in base. How low is that Baron? Observers show me right now. 5,000 HP on it. Limit gets away with the magical journey, but Schalke, you got to fight. You got to do something about this because otherwise you're just going to lose the Baron. SK, Trick almost able to get away. Death Charge going to land on the Trundle here. Gilius still trundling his way through the mid lane, trying to join up with the rest of his team, but he can't get there quickly enough. And look at the disengage with the Gravitum gun. Limit now meets up against his the enemy jungler, and Gilius forced out. Good Baron call from SK to take it quickly enough, and perhaps Gilius is now going to be forced away once again. The Cosmic Binding connects, the pillar slows him up, and the rest of Schalke are just going back to the fountain. Gilius will meet them there in about 50 seconds.
So, this does result in a Baron going in favor of SK. Notice that Schalke have very little healing reduction on their side, which means that even if they can find a lot of these good fights, it is very difficult for them to actually kill anyone. You saw how that Trundle just was not dying because there's only the Mortal Reminder sitting on top of Neon right now. And it looks like that there's no Morello in the works for the time being. So SK, they should be able to secure this without a jungler on the side of Schalke. This will be too difficult of a challenge. And now, SK should have all the tools to end the game.
They've finally combined to create Captain SK to win this game, Vedius.
I mean, like, their carries are all pretty much full build, like one item short. They've gone Ocean Soul.
I mean, Crownshot is just full build.
Yeah, they've got a Baron and an Elder. So if they can't end on this, questions must be asked.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think a 9,000 gold lead definitely helps you out quite a lot as well. And my expectation is, as the pillar comes down from Trick, Odo just flashed across the walls. That's a flash for flash, but Odo's flash obviously very impactful as these fights go on. And I think SK will be bolstered by their scoreline this week, although perhaps not entirely by this performance. They did what they wanted to do, just could have been a little bit quicker. But maybe
it's not about quicker, it's just like there was a lot of just fights that didn't result in anything. They were just kind of like fighting for the sake of fighting. And obviously it was SK coming out on top of them. It just, because it never resulted in any objectives, we're now in this point. So you can see SK quite easily breaking through the base. Schalke doing what they can to hold the line, but unless they can find a miracle fight here, this should be game, set, and match for SK.
Yep, they're looking for that mid lane inhibitor. Going to take that as well, and Schalke trying to defend at their Nexus turrets, but I'm not sure there's too much they can do. They'll clear out the wave, they'll thin it out for the moment, and SK will back away for the time being.
Don't do that. Yeah. Nice, okay, sweet, we're back in the base.
They're catching the wave. They were catching the wave.
We got the minion wave, here we go.
Here we go. Wave's getting cleared quite quickly here, Vedius. Trick.
Don't worry.
Okay, yep. There's another wave. Okay.
Yeah, they're good.
Super
SK
minions are on their way as well. SK continues to push
they don't want to overcommit here.
You sound almost like a radio presenter.
I mean,
oh, SK don't want to overcommit right here as they take down the first tower. Now they back away.
No.
Baron's expired, but you can't do it without Baron buff, Betty.
They definitely can.
You have to have Elder, Ocean Soul, and Baron at the same time. It's the trifecta. That's what Triforce is named after.
I mean, they could just go top lane right now. They just push top. Like, they don't need anything else, Medic.
second Elder. Second Elder.
All right, I just... Okay, look. Right. Can I even draw, like, this? Okay. And this, right? This is more than enough to end the game. You don't need more than this. And this also really helps, okay? Like, I was patient at first. Just go top lane now. They could just go top lane and they can end the game.
Crownshot agrees with you. Rest of the team, not so much.
We don't need to be bot lane.
Okay, the thing is, I totally agree with you. Right, there have been mistakes from SK, there have been blunders. I do like this TP because it means there are more people on the top side of the map, which is where they're going to try and look to win the game from. They have a 9,000 gold lead. I don't blame them for taking it a little bit cautiously when every game is so important, but for the future, there are things to work on.
Yeah. I think they're just being overly scared. That's just my opinion. Because, like, I don't think there's a world in which Odoamne, like, Abbedagge is the only one that I could see being a difference maker and, like, being able to win that fight. But, like, this Olaf just isn't a champion. They're basically playing 4v5. You won't do anything in this game. So, I just think they're being a little too cautious here. They just gotta wait for the super minions to push in because someone has to go and answer them. Then they should have a numbers advantage in top. Thank you, observers. You can highlight C in the bot lane. So while he's clearing that out, the problem is, like, their waves aren't quite syncing up either.
And the thing is, you know, Baron's up in a minute. So why don't we just wait for that one? SK gonna look to try and catch out Abbedagge here. He does have the flash. His Banshees is going to be knocked away. Super Minion on its way in the bottom lane, about where the tier 1 usually would be. Jenax is pushing in mid here as well. Will have a good flank position, has the exhaust, has the flash, can get into the back line of this fight. Shockwave, Sombreros, misses by a mile. Cuts grass more than lives right there. And SK will retreat for the moment.
All right. I've got to draw. Okay, so the thing is, that's happening right now is this wave and this wave, right?
They're gonna do it, Betty. They're under the inhib tower. Oh, but they've been caught out. Crownshot almost dies. Temper Fate comes out as well. There's Redemption. Moonlight Vigil doesn't connect. Draw some more lines. Draw some more lines. No, they fought last time you draw lines. Oh, Gilius is going to jump in. He's trying to kill Crownshot, but what are you doing? Into Crescendum Severum?
He's just not a champion.
No, but like, you look at the top.
I mean, the thing is, again, they're engaged tools.
The white one. Should I try and flash and kill him? No, he has the white gun.
Yeah. I mean, sure, but like, I suppose they're getting desperate at this point. I don't know.
Then flash Nautilus Q him.
Listen, I can't give context for everything, Medic. I don't have all the answers. Gilius tried, and he failed.
That's the motto of his career.
Wow.
Tried.
Wow.
He's succeeded.
Wow.
He's succeeded in the past. He always tried.
Whether you intended that or not, that was just a straight, like...
You made that worse than it was. My intent was he always tries, like in a positive sense.
You're like his best, you know, like...
He's always trying. Like, sometimes he makes mistakes like that, but sometimes he makes massive outplays. So, SK versus Schalke. 11,000 gold lead here for SK. They have the Baron buff. You made that a lot worse. Yeah. Odoamne here, who's been exhausted. Gilius is on his way. Limit is going to land a Tempered Fate, as Odoamne isn't quite able to jump over it. Jenax has a good position here. Dream's going to get caught out just a tad as Crownshot's taking away the blue, but Vedius. Triforce. The Triforce is available.
So you know in these games, right, I sit there and I go, am I the one who's wrong? Is there something that I'm missing? Maybe they can't end the game because of some reason that I don't understand. And I like always second guess myself and it's like, no, it's the teams that are wrong. All right, LDB. If this gets stolen, okay, here we go, nice.
Odoamne is, not in a good spot. Went down quicker than the Grump. ZaZee takes the kill. No super minions pushing in the bottom or the mid lane now as those inhibitors have respawned. But SK in a slightly strange position. Jenax jumping forward. Look at the damage from the Kennen right there. Abbedagge goes down. Dreams has fallen as well. And Neon, well, he gets away from the shockwave, but all he's going to do is run back to his base, which is in shambles. Flashes away. Trick continues to chase. And here comes ZaZee. One auto. Limit will take the kill. He's on a rampage on this Bard. I believe he is unkilled this game. 4-0-16. A sight for supports everywhere. SK going to get their first 2-0 week here in summer.
Whew. All right. So very impressive performance from Limit. I think the SK, yes, they did take their time to close this one out, but it was a much-needed win against Schalke. Schalke's split is only going to get harder from here. But yeah, not much more to say about that game.
I feel like you want to stop talking about it.
I feel like I've said a lot about this game.
It was an interesting game to be sure, Vedius. You guys can go to Twitter at LEC and vote for your key player of the game if you so desire. We have many options. In fact, there were 5 of them, but they've been reduced to 3 by us. ZaZee, Crownshot, and Limit are the possibilities that you can pick. Give it to Limit, guys. You know, he's great. He's a great support.
100% kill participation.
And didn't die. And coming up next, we'll see if VoD can secure a 2-0 week as well as they face off against XL Esports. What? He caught it.
Charged up.
Hello, everybody. Let the game begin.
Laughter
Welcome back to the ADC Summer Split. I'm Quickshot and I'm joined by Jesiz, head coach for SK. Congratulations on the first 2-0 in summer. Just before the day started, you said, I can smell the 2-0 in the air. Now, it sounded very uplifting, but the question I have for you, Jesiz, is what happened that it took so long to close the game out? It looked like the boys were a little nervous or scared.
I mean, in general, I think we had a good plan. And whenever it's late game, it obviously always just comes down to one good fight or, individuals doing something special or enemy just completely backing down and letting us end the game, or them just fighting us and basically trolling. And I think towards the end, a lot of the players were kind of just following one or two people's calls and not really thinking for themselves. So, yeah, we kind of just stopped, using our brains, basically.
I appreciate the candid response, Jesiz. I have to congratulate you for what you and the SK team have done. This summer, the team is a real threat. First 2-0, sitting at 6-5 now in the split. I mean, it must feel great to see where the team has grown from spring to summer. Talk to me a little bit about what the mood is like in the house. You've got your 2-0 after you're picking up wins, and you are real contenders for the playoffs.
So before the break, the mood was actually going a little bit downhill. But I think we recognized very quickly what the reasons were for, vibes getting worse or the environment getting a little bit more negative. So going into scrims again throughout the break, everything was just much better and everyone just stepped up individually. And yeah, we were kind of just back to what we were doing in the early weeks, and yeah, feels really, really great.
Jesiz, I know you and I have been around together in the league for a very long time, and if I'd asked you this question a couple of years back, I think I would have got a very spicy answer. So I'm not going to expect a spicy one. But is SK Gaming going to playoffs, yes or no?
I mean, last time I was with SK, we went to Worlds when we weren't expected to go to Worlds, so maybe, I hope
you
so.
You gave me spice! Oh my god, I love it. Dude, I love it. Listen, just very quickly, I'm sorry we don't have too much time, but I do need to announce the key player of the game, and it is, in fact, Crownshot. He actually won by 0.5%. I voted for Limit. Tell me, do the players talk about player of the game? Do they argue about it? Do they get jealous if it's somebody else?
I think not too much, actually. I think most of our players are actually not too outspoken. I think they're all just very chill. I personally think ZaZee actually deserved a player of the game this game. I think he played out of his mind, way better than he's played every game so far. So my personal favorite was ZaZee this game, but I think everyone played really fucking good.
Yeah.
Sorry for the language.
Listen, you're golden. 6-5, you're tantalizingly close to playoffs. Jesiz, it was a pleasure to speak to you. Congratulations. Enjoy a couple of days off. We will see you next week. We're going to head to a break, and we'll be right back with more LEC.